Hello, friends. Welcome to the Energy Report on the News Story podcast with me, your devoted host, Rebecca Leone Conran. That's right, middle name Leone. That's why I got such big ass hair. Got that Leo in me, Mercury in Leo. Alrighty, so we're looking at May 13th to 19th. 2019, y'all. Still in effect. Motherfucking springtime. So this week's energy report, we are looking at the weekly theme of love yourself and you will be loved. You know, I have no doubt that everyone who is listening to this understands the concept and need to love oneself. It's the action around it that we sometimes fall short on. When we are not being true to ourselves, we are not being loving. When we are abusing ourselves, we are not being loving. When we are relying on superficial band-aids, like approval from others, instant gratification, we are not really showing ourselves that we love us. Loving the self means aligning your actions with these concepts. And more often than not, it actually means saying no to behaviors, people, situations that don't feel like they match the self-worth that you aspire to. And there's no judgment around this, obviously. We have to, and it's not about being perfect either, but you know what your limits are, and you know what uplifts you or what brings you down. So if we can see things in terms of if it uplifts you and you feel good about it, it's a positive thing for you personally. It's can be an act of love. If it brings you down, makes you feel depleted or ashamed of yourself or sad or anything that we would look at as something that would be a negative trait, it may not be for your highest and best. And it doesn't matter what that is. It could be sometimes the need for spiritual perfection that is not for our highest and best, and we need to relax a little bit. And of course, it can be the opposite where we, utilize partying and stuff like that. And of course, time and a place for these things. But also, personally, if you are really in integrity for yourself, where your words and actions meet. So this week, love yourself and you will be loved is about being able to attract more love, being in the rhythm and the vibration of love, by loving ourselves fully. And the tarot card that's come up this week is Strength. And this is another 8 card this week. It has the number 8 associated with it, which is about empowerment, abundance, and the lessons that lead us to empowerment and true abundance, right? Which is a heart that's full. The Strength card is Tarot card is ultimately a card of overcoming our childhood conditioning. It asks us to have the courage to tame the beast within through loving ourselves, by being a loving inner parent. In traditional tarot, the image is of the woman and she's holding open the lion's mouth. And sometimes, we really have to get right in there in those wild places within and really be able to look it in the face, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and be a loving mother and father to ourselves and having real deep compassion for where we've come from, and also for the discipline that we need, the rest we need. So being a good parent means understanding when you need compassionate discipline, understanding when you need to rest, when you need nourishing playtime, nurturance. And these are the things we're getting better at. We're getting a lot better at being that encouraging parent to ourselves instead of that perpetuating the difficulties that we've experienced sometimes from childhood. The weekly ritual is experiencing pleasure. How do you experience pleasure for yourself? All on your lonesome without being reliant on other people. What brings you pleasure? This week's ritual is about utilizing your senses. Do you ever give yourself a nice short massage with oil after a shower? Have you ever rubbed your own feet and hands? How about making tea for your bath with fresh flower petals or buying yourself flowers? Is there a place in nature like a botanical garden where you can lay down and smell beautiful fragrances and touch the soil and the grass? What brings you pleasure in taste, smell, and touch? Perhaps music and dancing makes you feel pleasure in your body. Whatever it is, this week we tap into giving ourselves permission to feel good independently. So without needing someone else to fulfill these desires for pleasure. And of course, this helps us to really amp up that love ourselves and be loved energy. This week is really love, 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 love. So much fucking soft ass sensual energy this week. On Wednesday, the 15th of May, Venus is going to go into Taurus, plus Mars is going to go into Cancer. Things are about to get a whole hell of a lot more sensual, snuggly, and soft, okay? Venus is beauty, aesthetics, harmony, our values or what we value, romance and affection, and it's our self-worth. It's all about bringing that soft, nurturing, unconditional love into the picture. In Taurus, it connects us again to our senses and our sensuality. Venus rules Taurus, so it's at home. And when a planet is in its home sign, there is amplified energy to work with, both for the shadow elements and the positive sides of the energy. Venus in Taurus might get a bit stuck in superficial pleasure in its downfall. Sometimes Taurus is going to mistake security for love. It might overindulge in the sensory pleasures like drugs, alcohol, and food. It might try to circumvent connecting to true value and worth by engaging with instant gratification mechanisms instead. I speak to instant gratification a lot, so what is it? It can be the high you get when you're connecting with someone who's actually unavailable romantically, even though you know what your worth and value is. You keep engaging anyway to get that quick hit of approval or attention in that moment. Okay, that moment is always fleeting, however, and you're sometimes left feeling worse than you did before. This can be true of anything. It can be true, we can engage in instant gratification with people, sex, texting, social media, food, drinking, booze, whatevs. And you know if you're engaging in instant gratification, if you're not feeling true fulfillment from it, if it leaves you wanting and unhappy. The positive sides of this energy are many, however, with Taurus in Venus in Taurus. Stability, patience, passion, devotion, an influx of earthly creativity. If we utilize all of our resources right now to nourish those little children within, with an inner safety that comes from valuing ourselves, we are really using this energy to the max. On the same day, Mars, our planet of action, aggression, and masculine energy, goes into Cancer, which is pretty much as opposite as you can get elementally. I personally have natal Mars in Cancer, and I like to call this a major psychic empath placement. Cancer is the mother of the zodiac. Being ruled by the moon, it's all about let me make this better or nurture it. It's a wonderful thing to be able to act with compassion. But Mars helps us to flex our warrior energy, and sometimes with Mars in Cancer, this placement's downfall is a need for better boundaries and to disconnect from trying to nurture a situation that really actually needs to be cut off. Anger and aggression can be turned inwards with this placement rather than standing our ground. We can sometimes try to avoid conflict. Conflict is a natural part of life. Don't avoid it. Boundaries are good for all parties. No is a complete and full sentence. It is not our job to make anyone feel good. Period. We have to show up for ourselves as our authentic selves and let other people take care of themselves. It's not up to us whether people are feeling good or bad. It's up to them. It's up to us if we're feeling good or bad. That's what we have control over. That's what we have connection to. That's what we have power with. So take care of yourself. And if you need to speak your truth, don't avoid conflict just because it may make someone else not like you or unhappy. These are natural things. in the world that we live in. Sometimes people aren't going to like us for taking care of ourselves. As crazy as that sounds. Fuck them. We might feel called to nest in our homes with this energy, to make art, to make gorgeous and delicious dinners for ourselves, to cuddle, to be close to people. You know, Mars is also sex, so we want to get really intimate. We want intimacy in our sex with Cancer. We want those snuggles and those late night talks. We want closeness. We don't want it to just be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So we want to be able to make sure that we're also picking good partners for that. If you have any aesthetic improvements to make, this is a good time for this. Any kind of stuff you want to purchase for your home, purchase for your self-worth. I think like getting a haircut would be a good time with Venus in Taurus, or buying anything for the home, or anything that is a piece of beauty, that art, stuff like that. And of course, like anything that's going to increase your pleasure. So that might be wellness stuff. It could be yoga pass, anything like that. Anything that's going to increase your self-worth is going to be good, because Taurus also rules our resources, and that includes money. Speaking of money, on Saturday the 18th, we have a full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of sex and death and rebirth, and it rules other people's money. So what's going on for you financially right now? Are you staying in your abundance mindset, or you tend to go with fear when the wheel of fortune turns? We're not always in an upward trajectory. Sometimes we're in a neutral place. Sometimes we're even in a downturn. That doesn't mean everything's going to shit. But if we let our minds get carried away with that, rather than accepting where we are joyfully, like, okay, well, I'm in this place, but what am I abundant in? We want to always keep our minds focused on what's good, what's working, so that we can co-create more of that instead of co-creating the stuff that we don't like and that is making us unhappy. Full moons help us to release emotionally. Scorpio is a super sexy sign. We might be looking at our motivations deep down with this energy. What are our sexual motivations? Scorpio is all about the taboo. You know, what are secrets that we hold about ourselves that we think are bad? Maybe we need to bring those to light and love those places. So we might be in for a bit of a rough ride if we aren't coming correct with ourselves. With this full moon in Scorpio, if we have been hiding from us, if we have been being inauthentic. I know it takes a great deal of discipline to care deeply for yourself. I experience it too. Nobody doesn't, okay? People who have been healers for 50, 60, 70 years, they all talk about it. It's a process. It's hard. No one's doing it perfectly, okay? It's not easy. It requires a lot of courage to withstand your own emotional turmoil, but you have come here with the spirit to do so, I promise you. Set yourself up for success by taking very good care of yourself, being honest and true to your personal values, and integrity to yourself. Okay, friends, I hope you have a wonderful, snuggly, sensual week. Thank you to the patrons of the Energy Report and for helping make it available. Any patrons, there is a secret guided meditation on Patreon right now on my page. So if you're a patron of the Energy Report, only you have access to the secret Venus meditation that I've uploaded. Anyone that's interested in becoming a patron, you will also have access to this guided meditation, Healing with Venus, available now through my Patreon, which is linked in the show notes. All right, loves, you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.